Thanks, Rachel. Nice to be in here on NCAA Tournament Week and be in the field. It's always a wonderful feeling. That's what your number one goal is when you start the campaign. And to be here today is very, very nice. Just real quickly, we did have a good weekend in Michigan. Whenever you go up to play Michigan State and Michigan, you know that they're going to be tough matches. And I wouldn't have dreamed that we would go up there and sweep both those teams the way that we did. There were some really close sets, but we found a way to do what we've been doing this year, which is gut it out and pick up the pieces and win matches. So that was good. Eva was great in both matches. I really think Eva Hudson is becoming one of the three best players in the Big Ten. There's some great players in our league, but there are very few that can do what she can do. And we knew when the season started that it was going to be a process because she had rested the 7 weeks prior to the start of practices, and the first weekend was not a great indicator of what she was going to be able to do. But each week she has improved, and I credit our athletic training staff and our team doctors for advising us to rest her a lot during practices, to make sure that when we got to this point in the season, she would be at her very best, and she certainly is. So excited about that. The young kids are playing well. I know that you just heard from three of our best players and great spokeswomen for our program, and they did a great job. And I know we're all excited to get this thing started. So I think our tickets sold out. Is that right, Rachel, as far as we know, or is that not something I'm supposed to say? Okay, because I know a lot of people can't get them, so I'm not sure where they're hiding them. But anyway, we're going to have an absolute full house in here, and I didn't mean to put Rachel on the spot because now she's nervous and she's walking around back there and everything else. But we'll go ahead and turn it over to Tim to try to nip this thing in the bud.
It's all right. I was one of the people who couldn't get tickets this morning.
Well,
there you go.
Got to know somebody.
I guess you don't. Looking at the overall bracket. A lot of Big Ten teams in one quadrant. That seemed to happen with other conferences. Was that surprising to you, the way that they clustered teams in one conference together in areas?
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've been looking at this thing for 21 years, pretty close, and I'm not really surprised. I think they've got a job to do. I think they work hard to try to do the best job that they can, and I think if you start trying to separate too much by conference, you give somebody an advantage and somebody a disadvantage as well. From our standpoint, you know, we are going to Wisconsin. If we are fortunate to win the first and second rounds, we'll be in Madison, and we'll be happy to be there. I mean, we're not going to be disappointed about, you know, if we can advance that far. When you get to that point, you're going to play somebody really, really good, and only 4 teams are going to be playing at home, and the other 12 are going to be trying to come in and upset the apple cart. So I don't know if they have apples this time of year in Wisconsin, but that's what we'll be trying to do if we get that far. But we got a lot of work to do before we get there.
What's the first scouting report on Fairfield?
They are more athletic than I anticipated. They have a new coach, Nancy Samara, who has been at both Oregon State and South Carolina. Before that, then she kind of slipped off into maybe a lesser stress role at a smaller university. But when this job opened up last year, she stepped back in, and so I know she's used to high-level volleyball because she coached it for a long, long time. I just was surprised with some of the athletes that she had, because I'm not sure if she brought those in or the guy that was there before brought them in, but they have some pretty good athletes, and they won their conference rather handily. And they've been in NCAA play a lot before. Fairfield has. It's a name that consistently has been competing at the top of that league. So I know a little bit about them, but it's still a work in progress right now.
And do you feel like your team is playing its best of the season right now?
Well, I'm happy with where we are. You know, the best of the season would dictate on what night it was and who you were playing and a lot of different factors. But we have consistently improved throughout the season. The work ethic and the focus of these players has been ideal. We knew we're not good enough now. I mean, their understanding is we're not good enough at this point. We have to get better. I mean, we're going to compete like crazy. And, yeah, there's a lot of teams that we ought to be able to go out and beat. But if we want to win the big matches, we have to continue to get better. So for us this week, it's not about, okay, let's look at Fairfield and figure out how we're going to beat Fairfield. Our goal is, how do we get better this week? And there's been 3 or 4 things that we've really been trying to hit on throughout the season. We'll continue to do that, and maybe even throw a couple of different things in this week that we feel like will be important as we move forward in the NCAA tournament.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Tim. Nice win this weekend. I was able to hear quite a bit of it from you. And the last time for your cohort. And
we toasted.
yeah, I bet you did.
Dave, when your staff is recruiting outside hitters, are you looking for players that you think can play 6 rotations, or did it by chance you've got 2 really good ones right now that you can utilize?
Just got lucky, to be honest with you. I mean, we're just fortunate that the 2 we have are do-everything kind of players. And ideally, that's what you would like to have, because then you have them attacking out of the back row, and they get involved in the game, and they just thrive in that situation. But our history has always been find the best athlete we can find. And if that means it's going to be somebody that's going to be a 3-hitter, 3 rows across the front row and just be really, really good at what they do, and then bring in a backcourt player in the back row, that's what we have to do. We just have to find the best people we can find, and then adjust to that accordingly. I don't know how many teams can do what you're talking about and just handpick exactly what they want and expect to go out and be really, really successful with it. So I know in our case, we've just got to find the best athlete that we can find in that class that we're recruiting in, and hope that we can manufacture a way to win.
To have 2 really go-to players and for them to be freshman and sophomore, has it surprised you how quickly they've adapted to being superstar players in college volleyball?
Yeah, I don't want to call them superstars yet, Sam, but they're really good, and they've been obviously stars at times this season. Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, it's not that easy of a game in this league, but they're not normal people. I mean, they are very unique characters that, number one, have great athletic ability. They work extremely hard. They have great pride, and they have high goals. I mean, I don't know what their goals are, but they're probably higher than anybody else in college volleyball and where they want to go and what they want to do. And they come in every day and show that. So it's, I've been here for 21 years, and they are very unique. I'm not saying we haven't had other people that were similar and had some of the same characteristics, but these 2 are unique characters for sure.
So in Chicago, when we met for Big Ten Media Days for volleyball, we were speaking about the strength of schedule you had before going into Big Ten play, how that would prepare you for Big Ten play. Obviously, Big Ten play is gruesome. It's a gauntlet, no matter what no matter what team you are, no matter how good you are. So how has Big Ten play now prepared you guys for the postseason?
Well, one thing it does is you're ready to play 2 good matches each week, because you're not getting a night off in the Big Ten. And I know this has been a season where a lot of the fans have bashed the Big Ten because we only have 5 teams that made the tournament this year, and they don't think that some of those other teams were very good. And I would argue with that, because we lost to 3 of those other teams. We lost to Indiana, who didn't make the tournament. We lost to Northwestern, who didn't make the tournament. And we lost to Illinois, who did not make the tournament. And I can tell you on those nights, they were clearly NCAA tournament teams on those nights. But somehow the Big Ten misplayed the RPI this year, and that bit a lot of teams in the rear. And but I think that it used to be we always would play on Fridays and Saturday nights. You play back-to-back nights in the Big Ten. They've gotten away from that because of TV coverage, and football on Saturdays has disrupted some of those opportunities. And I love the fact we don't do that anymore. But the last 2 weekends, we did play Friday, Saturday. So we played back-to-back nights. That helped us get a better feeling for what this is going to be like this week, even though it will be Thursday and Friday. It's a quick turnaround. And so the focus and the ability for those athletes to be coachable and ready to listen and ready to move on from one team to the next is going to be really, really important. I mean, I always feel like when you've got 5 days to get ready for somebody, in this case it's about 4, you should be prepared. And I think our staff has always done a great job of that. But it's that turnaround of less than 24 hours that you have to get your athletes to understand what they have to do to win. Makes it difficult, but that's kind of what we get in the Big Ten. You can't, we're not, if we're playing 2 Big Ten matches, we're never thinking about the second one. We're thinking about the first one, because if you don't think about it in that manner, you'll get beat.
So now looking to these next 2 games that you might have this week, I say might have with 2, because
Yeah.
you at least have
We
one.
hope so.
We hope so too back here. You said earlier that your goal is to get better this week, and you're focusing on key 3 elements in order to do so.
Yeah.
What are some of those elements that you're focusing on in order to get better and meet your goals?
Yeah, one of the primary emphasis has been for this team has been serving. And in such a simple skill, you think that everybody would just have the ability to serve a great ball. But we have not put enough pace and toughness in our serving. And so we work on it a lot. And I'm very involved in our serving. I'm right there on the baseline with every server, giving them feedback, all the time about what's a good serve and what's not a good serve and how can they make that better and different things, because serving is, no matter what level you're at, whether you're playing in the Olympics or you're playing 7th and 8th grade volleyball, it's the most important skill in the game. And yet sometimes it gets overlooked because of people want to jump and hit and block and make great defensive plays and things that get a little more attention. But we have to continue to get better with the serving. We have to continue to get some of the non-targeted players offensively, continue to get better. I'm talking about even Raven Colvin, okay, has to take another step this year and this week in her ability to score points for us. Lourdes Myers, going behind the setter, she's becoming really, really good at it. We just got to get her a few more opportunities in practice this week to get more confidence in that. Our right side player, whether it's Kenna Woolard or Grace Heaney or whoever it might be back there, want to build them a little more confidence so that we know we can spread that floor out and not let blockers load up on our 2 left side hitters. And nobody has really been able to do that this year, but I just want to make sure that we're getting strength from all those spots as well. And then when you're a young team, one of the last things that really develops is blocking. And I feel like we could be a really good blocking team. I think we're 3rd in blocks in the Big Ten, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're the 3rd best blocking team. It might not. But we can get better with our blocking and understanding the schemes and how to position your hands and just a lot of things that we can improve on. And so those are just a handful of things that I still feel like in the next 3 days, I want to see us, make some progress.
So were you ever nervous at one point in the season that, this team might not be able to make the postseason at all? Because I know it was a bit of a rocky start with such a tough schedule at the very beginning.
Until we became a lock to be in the NCAA tournament, then I was nervous because it's a big deal. That's your job as a head coach in the Big Ten, is to find a way to get your team into the NCAA tournament or allow them that opportunity. So yeah, that's something that every year we start. It's NCAA tournament or bust, and fortunately we haven't busted too many times. And but this team managed that pretty early in the year, and then really once we got in, we really started to really flourish. I mean, we haven't lost since then, to be honest with you. Once we got over that 500 mark and we knew that we were going to be tournament eligible, and we knew our RPI was going to be good enough to get us in. So there's 2 factors. Is your RPI going to be under 45 at the end of the season, and are you going to be 500 or better? And so once you get there, then you can kind of relax, but then all of a sudden the expectations go higher. Now you've got to host, and then you got to get a good seed, and so on and so on.
Awesome. And last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Any game plan right now in order to deal with Michaela Hott or Allie Elliott?
Not really. We're still just looking them over. Like I mentioned, they've got some players, and I know that those players will get our athletes' attention, which helps. When you look across the net, you start looking on film, and you can say, "Wow, that looks like a Big Ten player." Then all of a sudden, you've got the attention of your team. But this match with Fairfield is going to be more about what we do than what they do. We just want to make sure that we're going to go out and continue to play at the level that we're playing at and try to get better in some of those areas that we talked about. Thank you. Yeah.
I asked Maddie about the seeding that you guys got, and I know that you were expecting to get in those top 4 seeds, and you were talking about with your players, but were you pleasantly surprised by the 3 seed there?
No, I think that when you look at what we had accomplished in the last 4 weekends, it would have been really difficult for them not to give us a 3. We fit right into that slot, in my opinion. I mean, I've been, like I have been surprised before, but everything that I heard and read kind of had us in that spot. It really didn't matter to me. I mean, 3's a lot better because if you are fortunate enough to get into that regional field, if you're a 4, you're going to play a host team right away. If you're a 3, you're playing somebody else that's walking into a gym that's not theirs, and I think that evens the playing field.
And then you talked about throwing some new things in this week. You know, tournaments obviously higher stakes, a lot more eyeballs. So I'm sure it's different for you and your players. But do you approach it any differently?
I think we'll approach it as much to the same as we have every week, because it's not a whole lot different. We're going to play Thursday, Friday. That's something we probably haven't done, but it's no different than a Friday, Saturday, or a Thursday, Saturday, or anything like that. So we'll try to keep things very much identical to what we normally do. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Yeah.